One moment, just point of information.
Do we need new timekeeper since Mr. Lima has to leave?
Oh, is he leaving?
Yes, it's out of the event.
Okay, he did. Okay, so Mr. Lima has left. He has left at 5:12. So please note that in the minutes. I'm going to assume that Ms. Hacha left with him, or left a while ago, so we won't have an alternate being seated in his place. So thank you, that's a good point of information. And as far as timekeeping, I'm hoping we can keep these short, so maybe we won't need it, but I will keep time. So give me 1 moment to start the timer.
Aren't you guys glad we changed the clocks to the sun? You objected to adjournment once. I can make that comment.
Okay, all right, so, communications and marketing.
I'll try and make this as brief as possible. Our November beacon open rate was at 27%. In January, that dropped to, rounding up, 21%. So we have been using the new SendGrid method that TJ has been working with Natalie to get around the dump into spam folders. Let's see, the next issue is we've actually just finished putting all the articles in, and Natalie is compiling. That's going to be going out this Tuesday on the 22nd. So hopefully we'll get a better open rate. Los Angeles Times included coverage of Los Angeles County and Sean Osborne and Anthony McCardle, and I got a link to that article in the committee report. And then finally, given that the state's EIN Newswire account for the LPC, we're not using it all full 12 press releases that we have that are given per our account that we prepay for, and it was renewed in December, correctly?
Yeah, we used all of our press releases.
We used all our press releases? Okay.
And I assume we will this year again because of candidates.
Okay, what I'm recommending is that for endorsed candidates that the executive committee endorses, we allow candidates to be able to use at least one press release to help disseminate, since as a measure of support. So, and then so letting Kelly Cardin, Michael Lima, and others around the state who let them have at least one press release during the campaign season. And that's just my only recommendation.
I thank you for that. And my recommendation is that the Communications and Media Committee actually prepare press releases for our various candidates and do it that way, as opposed to giving a candidate the press release. That would be my suggestion and a better way to do it, but
okay,
that's my suggestion.
That's also something we can do as well.
I think that would be nice to do for our candidates as the Libertarian Party of California. So, is there any questions for the Communications and Marketing Committee?
I have a question.
Ms. Tewksbury.
Who in here is signed up to receive the newsletter?
I need to do that. I thought it was just about to finish.
And do you all receive it?
No, I don't get it.
I'm pretty sure I've signed up and I still not see that.
Same.
Okay.
I get it. I don't remember.
It's not going to my spam because I don't.
I have looked and I do not see you on the distribution list. We've talked about this before. It can be taken offline. I think you've opted out of SendGrid somewhere along the way. No, not our newsletter, but SendGrid itself. I think that's what's happened, but I don't know how to rectify that. I'll ask him.
Okay.
But I believe that that's it, because you are not in our distribution list even when I've added you. Personally,
You've added me and I've done it twice.
I think that you're being removed because you're in the SendGrid do not send.
Okay, so that's definitely a discussion we can have TJ because I don't understand that.
Yeah. But yes, I think you've opted out of SendGrid somewhere along the line,
Okay.
which has nothing to do with our beacon, but it does have to do with SendGrid. Yes, Mr. Bell.
Are all the ExCom members automatically added to that? Should it go to at least that address?
No,
If
No.
need be, or?
No, it goes, all of that is through voter registration and membership database. It doesn't go to groups. It
But-
goes to all the members that sign up for it and all the members that are members. And in the beginning, we did it also to registered voters, but a lot of those have opted out, so we've taken those people off because they weren't opening. So if you wanna do it, just go through the website and sign up. Just,
So, did I hear you correctly that all members of our state party also should be receiving it?
I don't know
I
when
thought
the
you
last
said
time
that
that was
before, but-
updated, to be honest with
Okay.
you, because that's not my job, but
Gotcha.
it's something that has been imported
In the
several
past,
times.
okay.
New members may not be automatically
I
imported,
think that
I
that
don't
was-
know.
Yeah.
I know that Mr. Imzoff, our old webmaster, had an automated process for that happening. I
Mhm.
don't know if that's still happening or
Okay.
not, and
So
it's not my
something for us
wheelhouse.
to figure out at some point.
I would say that probably some questions about this very specific type of
To
stuff
TJ.
to Mr. Ferrer,
Yeah.
because he would be one to
Or
ask.
Jimmy,
Yeah.
Mr. Ferrer is TJ, yes.
I thought I heard for a row.
Is there additional questions for the communications and marketing report? Okay, that then brings us to the social media committee report. I know that Angela did send a report slightly after the deadline. Does anybody know if she had
was-
been wanting to present this?
Yes, she was prepared to do that, but she is currently in a debate now, which is at the Tennessee convention, so she didn't think it would be at this time. So,
Okay, well, it was submitted in advance, it will be part of the minutes. I can't present a report because it's not mine, so, and I can't answer questions either. So that would bring us to the 2020 Convention Committee report. That was submitted in advance. It has a lot of information regarding profit loss. I know a lot has been made of the $700 loss. That was, we try very hard to break even with these. We do not try to make money on the conventions because they're for doing part of business. We did have very generous sponsors this year, as we always do, which affords us the ability to have the Friday night reception, which was incredibly highly attended. We spend about $6,000 on that, all the financials are there to have, you know, the food for people and all of that. This year we did have higher than normal expenses for some of our speakers because travel was more expensive this year. Some of the flights, like coming from, well, everywhere, were more expensive than typical. So that increased our pricing there, so our flights were more expensive. We did have an interesting situation that we've never had before, which was that there were some people that actually were in the meal events that didn't have the proper ticketing, and but they still served those people rather than make a scene, so we had to pay some additional. Just so you know, that amount that we owed, it also incorporated some incidental things that were not necessarily just the additional, like there was a $58 thing that was put on one of the, it was on one of the speaker rooms, and it was for incidentals that probably shouldn't have been there, but I'm not gonna make a deal with that either. So, you know, little stuff like that. But all in all, it was a very successful convention, and, is there any questions? First, Mr. Maladon, then Ms. Tewksbury.
So I appreciate you answering the part about the incidentals, but I mean, unless there were a lot of incidentals, I mean, we were charged $1,164.83 for 11 meals.
And I actually, thank you, I appreciate that because I was going to make one correction. We were originally charged, and I should have changed this, and I will send the updated. We were originally charged the $1,100. They had actually put an additional 2 room nights on as well, which was about $400, and I will send that update.
Okay. Do you know off the top of your head what the meal portion of that was for the 5?
It was $62 each for each of the dinners, and it was $56 each for each of the lunches.
Isn't that more than what we were charging for the lunch? That was with the speaker, wasn't it $50 or something like that?
It was $75. Our actual meal cost is $56 for lunches. and our actual meal cost for dinners is $62. It's lesser at hotels in the central area than it is in the northern or the southern, but that is the amount that they charge, because that also incorporates, taxes and fees.
And I guess my last question is, how did they determine that there were 5 people that received lunch without being charged and 6? I mean, I can't attest to the lunch, but.
6 is very
or-
easy. 6 is that there were 6 people that were served without a ticket. They did not have a meal ticket. To have the dinner, you had to have a ticket that said your name and what you were eating. There were
right,
6
that's-
people that did not have those.
Yeah, so why were they served food?
Because they were sitting there, they said they were supposed to be served food. In one particular instance, there was a kerfuffle. I wasn't involved in any of this. This was actually volunteers.
Oh, yeah.
I know that some people had, I don't know, I can't give you firsthand knowledge, although I do know that there was kerfuffles.
Could one of those kerfuffles be with me that,
By the way, that was China.
I was given a ticket by, Michael Lima, Alberto couldn't make it, and so we had all talked together about giving me his ticket, and I kind of tore the corner off, just kind of out of nervous fiddling one time, and there was an issue about me getting a plate, and
I honestly, I don't know if it was you or not. Again, I wasn't firsthand to any of this is all what I was told. What I do know, so if you had a ticket that was paid for, then your meal was paid for, that wasn't one of the 6.
I just heard that I was being brought up in that conversation.
I don't know.
Okay.
I motion to extend time by 2 minutes, and if Tewksbury could ask her questions.
Oh, it's just,
Well,
Well,
sorry.
It's okay, well, that was
It's really
time.
not a question, it's, just a correction, at the top it says 2021 convention committee report.
Well, that's a mistake, and that can be corrected, so thank you. And that's just that's a good catch though, because nobody else caught it.
I was confused by it, I was just.
Yeah,
So
I
there's
kept
no-
going,
But I
did I
don't
quote the
think
wrong
it's
one from
not
last year or
released.
something?
No, that's just obviously
Yeah.
the old template was used. We're at time, so if there's a motion to extend time, we can do that.
I withdraw my motion.
no, okay, never mind.
Okay. Alright, so that was time for that. Okay, so that's the convention report. We have already done the post-convention ExCom meeting discussion. That brings us to national delegate selection, 5 minutes only for discussion. And I believe that was Mr. Lima that put that on the agenda, but I don't know if
Yes.
somebody else would like to speak to that.
I will speak to the thing that he wanted to know was what took so long to get the delegate counts out, like what the process was. That was his big question, is what took so long. I asked him all that before we.
Okay, fair. It always takes a long time, that's why we have 30 days in the bylaws to do it. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of ballots, there's a lot of people that are elected. As Ms. Nix spoke to, we spent several days together counting them. It's also a matter of validating that we have ballots from people that were credentialed, we have ballots from only one person, making sure each person only voted for 35, not 36 or 40 or whatever. And it's a lot of work, and that's why the bylaws always gives the 30 days to be able to complete that. We did finish it more quickly than that, but that's why. Yes, Mr. Alsted.
So, do you have a count of how many ballots were thrown out for, I mean, the different categories? The more than 35 votes, I get, but were there ballots that were thrown out as non-credentialed?
Yeah, there's, I
Or-
think, I don't remember numbers, I think there's about, I don't know, less than 10 that were people that had not signed in to the sign-in sheet.
About ballots that just weren't signed at all?
There was,
Not signed at all, there was like 2 or 3.
And then,
Yeah,
were there any like
maybe 4.
incomplete, you had to have all 4, was there anywhere
There was
like
none of
3 of the
those.
4 sheets were signed?
No.
Okay.
We also, if it was, as long as one side of each sheet was signed, we could count.
Yeah,
You let it slide?
yeah,
Okay.
if it was just one side of each sheet, that was fine, and I think that was very few, that was only.
It was literally like, I could count on one hand.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there were ones that the people voted for more than the 35.
Right.
One particular instance, the person voted yes or no to every single person on the list. they were confused.
Didn't quite understand.
So they voted for a yes or no next to
A lot
every
of
single
effort.
220 something
That was a
people.
lot of effort for being confused.
Precisely, and then there were some that just were not signed, they had no name, had no idea who they came from. Mr. Malaga.
Is there a way to get actual, I know that some people have just asked me to ask this, so that's why I'm asking, to get the actual numbers. I know you said it's like less than 10 that were thrown out, some people, like, is there a way to break
Yeah,
that down? And
I can.
people have also specifically asked what the yes to no ratio was, for, like, if there is a way to find out who got yes, because it affected the ranking, I suspect. So, is if there's a way to find out who got how many yes votes versus no votes, if there's a record of that,
Well, there's a record of all of it.
or how that would.
They
be
are
released, or
secret
if it's-
ballots.
Well, not like the individual, of course, but.
Right, I mean, yeah, we can, I mean, that's why I was asking before this meeting,
Right.
what exactly this was, because I could have possibly brought something to answer some of these things, but I didn't know what y'all wanted, so,
And it could be that he had more, he just, that was the one thing that he wanted to know, what took so long, basically.
Well, that's what took a while, and then we had to, of course, then figure out those last final rankings, which all those people are gonna be seated anyways, but, you know,
Right.
that was the final thing to do. And it just, and you know, honestly, the first couple days after convention, like, the day after convention, we were there all day at the hotel still. It wasn't like you guys went home and we went home too, you know?
Yeah.
Ms. Nix.
I was just gonna say, like, keep in mind that people counting for y'all convention ended on Sunday, for us it ended basically Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
So, and then in our defense, let us have a day. So then we started, we started Wednesday, that went from morning to sundown, and then went Thursday morning to sundown, and then
You're defending yourself to Mr. Lehman, he's not here.
I'm just saying,
Well-
for,
No, I
for
know.
transparency purposes, so people are like, oh, what took so long? It's like the fact that, you know, if you're asking on Tuesday, like, when are we gonna find out? Like, we literally just got home from the hotel, like, there
We
was
had
still the,
training, we had
yeah, there was still
acting, we
the
had.
training sessions on Monday, and
To add to your defense,
Okay.
Mr. Lehman often asked me, are we there yet, 10 times more in a car,
I'm sure he
so.
does.
Okay, so real quick, Mr. Alsted is waiting patiently with his hand up while others are cross talking.
Okay, so I get, you talk about it took all day Tuesday and Wednesday, but that was still 17 days before the final alternate list was released. Is there another part of the process that we're not aware of? Or is there another?
Wasn't that
first-
because we had the 8 tie votes at the bottom?
Well, we
Well,
had
that was
those.
4 or 5 of the 17 days, yeah.
And we
I just-
also, we
my
had
timeline
done
is
the
losing
raw
some of them.
ballots. We had done the raw ballots, then we met again via Zoom. Time is up on this, by the way.
Motion to extend by 5 minutes.
Motion to extend by 5 minutes, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, seconded by Ms. Tewksbury, is there any objection? Hearing none, okay. So, we also had a Zoom meeting after that to go over it. We audited, after we did the counting, we then did audits where we went through and just pulled random, we numbered all the ballots so that we could pull random to make sure that we got it all right on the spreadsheet.
Mhm.
We did a lot of double checking. We had to then go back through and check the credentialing to make sure the credentialing had been done right. We had to check some of the members that had been credentialed in that were not in Neon yet as being central committee members to make sure that that had been fully checked by the delegate, you know, by the credentials committee.
Yeah, and so, okay, as the chair of the credential committee, was that, did you find, was there like widespread improper credentialing?
No, only that people didn't sign in on the sign-in sheet.
Speaking personally, are we?
I just wanna know, but.
No, only that people didn't sign in on the sign-in sheet,
Okay,
but.
and then, one more question, if we did wanna make the change to say the results will be ready in 7 days, what can we do differently? How can we, do you need more people, do you need a different system? What could we do to?
You can try to come up with a different system of the way that we do our elections. You could come up with a lot of things and change that in the bylaws and convention rules.
Okay, let me understand that, that's why we're kinda asking what the process is, it's hard to come up with an
That is the
improvement
process.
if
I
you
mean,
don't understand what
The process is the way that we do it is the way we do it. We've all, I mean, it's in the bylaws and the convention rules. We have the kind of strange method of, you know, the 35 and you can vote yes and you can vote no and all of that. You can't do more than those yes or no's. There's a lot of ballots and there's a lot of people on each ballot, especially now. I will tell you that for a lot of years there in the 2010s, we didn't fill our delegation. It was done with a motion at convention to fill everybody that signed up as a slate, cause we didn't fill that, that's changed now.
Yeah.
So now it's becoming where the last 2 times in a row, we've had, 220, 230 people on the ballot. We've had this time, 170 people turn in ballots or something like that.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact number, but it's just, it's work, and we got together and we did it, but, we also have, there was 3 of us and we worked on it together and we got it done, then we had to do the motions. And we also have lives, so there's that too.
Well, that's what I'm saying, I mean, if it takes more people, then
I don't know
that
that more
could be
people could
suggested.
necessarily make it, already with 3, we were kind of redundant,
It was
so,
already, yeah,
I mean,
the 4th person that we would have gotten that economic issue where you just have too many.
yeah, but I mean, if there's a specific thing that somebody would like to see in the result, we could probably do something like that. If you, like Mr. Malagon asked for actual, or you asked for actual numbers of what was thrown out, we can do that. I did not bring it with me, and I don't know if you noticed, but my computer hasn't been working, so. I'm not gonna give that to you right now, but I can, if you want specific information, we can do that.
We met pretty much every day for that whole week after the convention.
Yes. We got very sick of each other.
Yes, we did.
Any other questions? Although I did like hanging out with Boomer.
She means my dog.
I do mean,
Not-
I do mean her.
Not Libertarian Party Boomer, my dog.
I do in fact mean Boomer the dog, who gets very excited every time the door opens. Is there any other questions for that?
What would be, I guess my last question would be, what would be a reasonable time frame to get the breakdown of that information?
Send an email to myself at Share and TJ at XD, and we will get that information to you, not today or tomorrow.
Fair enough.
But it'll be soon. I don't have it. Okay, we were at time anyways. So that brings us to new business, which I don't believe there was no new business with advance notices. There any discussion on future new business?
I'd like to nominate Roger Cohen for, Congress, sorry.
Do you mean endorse?
You want to endorse,
Move to endorse.
I would say that should have been, that is a special vote threshold, and that should have been with advance notice, so I would suggest that you do that as an email motion. And just for clarity, and I believe we should endorse him for sure, and as a matter of fact, we did endorse it. Actually, we don't need to endorse him.
We did it at.
We did it at convention, which is the better body to do it anyways.
Okay.
And I've already, if you read my chair's report or the CSC report, I've already sent in the endorsements for our 2 partisan candidates on time, actually early, to the registrars of voters. So Mr. Dean and Mr. Cohen will both be listed on their respective, county voter information as being
Okay,
endorsed by
so-
the Libertarian Party of California.
So all candidate endorsements by this body has to be done, and how much advance notice via email or?
Email motions are considered to have given advance notice for
Okay.
that.
Alright.
And it's a 2/3 vote threshold. Regardless, it's 2/3 whether it's in the meeting or not.
Okay.
Is there anything else for discussion on that?
So all endorsements are off the table?
For this meeting, yes, so there's no advance notice for it. I would suggest that we probably do need to have an email motion to endorse, for instance, Chris Kinnear, who's not been endorsed yet in Orange County. I think most of our other candidates, if not all, have been endorsed by the body itself at convention.
I wanted to just ensure that Mr. Strong had already been endorsed for his re-election.
For his election, he's not.
For his election, in addition to, securing him funding for his election from the CSC.
He's already
Is that
gotten
something
funding.
That's something that's done, but I mean, like additional funding, is that something else?
Right, this is kind of
So
going
just discussion
back
for
to,
something, right?
this is going back to the CSC, but Kelly Cardin, he asked for $500 because that's the limit he accepted, he received $500. Mr. Strawn asked for $1,000, he received $1,000. Ms. Saltre asked for $1,500, she received $1,500. Francisco Ramirez asked for $1,000, he received $1,000. Michael Lima asked for $1,000, he received $1,000. Supervisor Hewitt requested actually $20,000, he received $10,000. Those are the fundings that we've given out thus far, which goes to what we have as reserves for candidate funding. We still have more left that we could bank out to give additional funding.
Okay.
And, all of those candidates that I just listed have already been endorsed by the party. The only one that,
Will Mr. Gagnier, did he send over an email motion?
yeah, and he's the only one that I know, cause he just recently, he right at the deadline did his final paperwork to file for that seat in Orange County for the Board of, District 2 School Board.
Okay.
So is there anything else for discussion in new business? And again, you know, please make that motion as an email motion. I think that would be appropriate. And honestly, by the time I found out that Chris was running, the final agenda had already been done, so. Okay, as far as, set next meeting, we are at that now. I believe that there's a proposal for that.
Yes, I would like to make a motion that we have our next meeting on June 18th at the Hills Hotel. June 18th, 2022. Hills Hotel in the Hills, California.
Okay, and I know that you've already, negotiated with them, so we do have a price and a room block set aside for that.
Yeah, the rooms are $149 a night plus tax, and the meeting room is $400, but it's waived with 12 room nights.
What dates?
June 18th.
By 12 room nights, you mean, you're assuming 6 rooms?
Six
It's
people.
per night,
Yeah.
6 rooms each night.
Just making sure I understood correctly.
Okay, so are you moving to set our next meeting time and date to June
28th.
28th? No.
June 18th, 2022.
June 18th, 2022 at the Hills Hotel in Laguna Hills,
Yeah.
which is in Orange County, North Orange County, California. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, seconded by Ms. Tewksbury. Is there any further discussion?
What's the location again?
It's Laguna Hills in North Orange County. Okay, is there any objection to having our second quarter meeting on June 18th in Laguna Hills at the Hills?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
as long as Gary allows us to go to his house for an after party, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Sure, you're always invited.
Oh, you don't want to.
Okay,
No,
is there
sorry.
any objection to having that meeting at that time and place? Hearing none, I'd also like to, propose, and this body doesn't have to, but I would like to, because Mr. Pereira is not here, propose that we hold our third quarter convention at Delora in
Sentinel.
Santinella, or Nadal.
Sentinel.
Santinella.
Hotel de Oro.
Sentinella.
It's the Chris
The
Ruffer
one Chris
Hotel.
Ruffer-
Yeah,
Hotel de Oro.
Yeah.
She
Talks
Oro.
about it whenever we
I've
want.
I've stayed there twice, I love that hotel.
It's a lovely hotel, as executive director, part of what he's tasked with is fundraising.
Yeah.
He's already planning a fundraising event at that hotel on that weekend. I think it's always good if we, you know, have the executive committee show up to these types of fundraising events. This would be a fundraising event for, you know, I'll be just super honest, this would be a fundraising event for people that are high dollar donors. So, that's the type of fundraiser that it would be. And, I'm sorry?
I'm just asking if we have a date for that.
Yeah, so the date was, I believe September,
State Hotel Mission Takeover.
yeah,
There's either that or a Motel 6, so.
no, it's the very, very nice one. It's a very, very nice.
She gushes when we.
Oh, it's a lovely hotel, and you know, for those that don't know, it's owned by one of our larger donors. And it has meeting rooms, and.
Oh, wait, he actually owns it? Like, I thought there was.
Yes, no, he owns it.
Oh, he owns it, oh, wow.
This is, I parked in that parking lot when I was driving up to, where the Did
Did you pay?
No,
The onion hot seed rolls at Anderson Pea Soup are worth the trip alone. You gotta get
Did
the
you see what
little.
day it was? I believe it was the eighth.
They don't have copies, they don't have copies on Saturday. Not yesterday.
Oh, we didn't
And
have
there were
that.
onions for here.
September,
Because last time they had
September 17th.
Yeah, I just found it too. Okay, so what his suggestion is that we have our third quarter executive committee meeting on September 17th in Santanilla, California at the, at that hotel, the Delora Hotel. Is there a second?
I seconded.
You seconded first?
I did.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Ms. Christopher seconded. Is there any further discussion on having our third quarter executive committee meeting there? Hearing none, is there any objection to having our third quarter meeting there?
Just don't make me soup.
I can tell you that the hotel has lots of good food that isn't.
Like the only
But I will also tell you that I like Anderson pea soup because they make,
That's fine.
they make vegan pea soup.
Okay, I'm gonna get one.
Not all of it comes with ham. Okay, is there any objection? Once again, just real quick, besides the, pea soup, is there any objection to having our meeting on that day?
I feel like I'm looking at something that's probably just a friend's birthday.
Hearing none, so we now have our meeting set for both the second quarter and third quarter meetings. I do not believe there's any action items other than somebody is going to email me asking for the numbers that they're asking for the delegates, correct?
Right.
But other than that, I think that's the only action item that we
And then
have.
I asked you to send the, executive director thing.
Well, that's not an action
No, I'm
item,
just
that's
saying,
an
yeah,
individual.
just talking about
Right.
emailing for stuff, yeah.
That was, that's not an action item.
I just,
In
I
general,
just
that's-
remembered myself anyway.
All right, is there anything else, that I'm forgetting about for action items?
Would you mind repeating what the action item was?
The only action item is that, that I've been requested to provide Mr. Alstad information regarding, the number breakdown of the delegates. Okay, and you're gonna send me an email requesting that so that I don't forget or something.
Yeah.
Whichever. All right, in that case, that takes us to the final item on the agenda, which is adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Okay.
They're gonna say it anyway. People
All right.
know how I stand on adjourn.
All right, we are adjourned at 5:45.
Do you know what it takes for me to flip somebody off? I hate the thing. I think it's so immature. What have I been ready for?
That looks like a nice place. It looks nice.
Oh,
I looked it up.
I went there and walked around.
You know.